I'm so sorry I don't have better words right now. I'm hurting so bad. I don't know what else to do anymore. I didn't do nothing wrong to her.
Making content on YouTube is hit or miss. While there are many channels out there with hundreds and thousands of subscribers and millions of views, there are just as many channels that have very few subscribers and videos that don't see very many views at all. Trent Paschal had one of these mundane YouTube channels at one point, with videos showcasing everyday life, from racing RC boats to taking his stepson to school.
Okay, here I'm going to show you how to make the quickest, simplest, easiest, probably the cheapest way to make a good external battery for the GoPro.
All right, that's good. You're doing good at that.
Halos. Anyways, you choose. I'm showing you just by my experience and doing this what I see and faults and good, about it. And I figure some of you guys might want lights for nighttime for the GoPro.
Oh, it's glued on. It's glued on. Huh? It's glued on.
Oh, it's on top.
Yeah.
I did a good job at it though.
The man was in his 40s, and he seemed to have a very lovely and boring life. But like much of what you see on the internet, it's like peering through a keyhole. You don't see the entire picture. Though his videos barely got any views, there was one posted on October 21st, 2020 that would be seen by many, but not for any positive reasons. Simply put, on his 48th birthday, the Texas man was seemingly recording a video for his daughter.
I'm recording this because I want my daughter to know that I love you. I'm so sorry that I've done this. I want you to know that you mean everything to me. And I love you too. I love you so much. I love you like you're my own. I didn't choose this. Your mom chose this. She's been cheating on me for a long time. I have audio of her talking to other guys. I didn't do nothing wrong to her. When we first got together, I told her, "You're too young for me." I don't know what else to say. I love you. I love you so much. Do something good with your life. Make me proud. Make me very proud.
From the beginning, it sounded as though this man was about to do something tragic to himself, blaming his wife, claiming that she was cheating on him.
I provided what I could. I've done what I could for her. I've done nothing but good for her. And I've treated y'all good. I've done good things for y'all. I'm so sorry I don't have better words right now. I'm hurting so bad. I don't know what else to do anymore. I didn't do nothing wrong to her.
There is a moment in the video where he keeps fussing over his hair in a way that seems like he's nervous about something.
My hair's a mess and I look horrible. Oh, sorry. Take these off. I love you, man. I love you so much. Please do something good with your life. Please do something really good, because you deserve a good life. And I don't know what else to say. I'm so sorry I don't have better words right now.
During his long diatribes, he sometimes stops mid-sentence and looks off camera. At one point, he said,
"Sorry, I keep looking at the cameras. I don't know how much time I have."
Suggesting what he was looking at was monitors for his home security cameras that were located outside the home. As the video ends, he does this.
You done whatever you could. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love you so much. You love me like your own.
He stops mid-sentence, grabbing what he was recording off of, yet we, as the audience, hear the sounds of what sounds like a shower curtain moving before the video cuts off. As someone who has been pretty much damaged by horror content, this just seems like a hoax video. You know, like one of those cheesy ARG type videos. But no, this is real. And Trent Paschal had no intention of harming himself. Instead, he was going to harm the person he claimed to love, his wife, Savannah. This is just a start, though, because though he was arrested, he would escape and go on the lam. But before we get into that, let's rewind and look at Savannah Paschal. Because when I can, this channel does not glorify the perpetrators of crime, but it puts a spotlight on the victims of crime to bring their names and their stories to light. So this is Savannah's story. Quick side note, I don't know if it's Paschal or Paschal. I've heard both. I'm just going to go with Paschal, and if that's wrong, I apologize. I've heard so many variations of this last name. I'm just going to go with Paschal. But this is the story of a woman who lived with a man who was jealous, paranoid, and wanted her all to himself. Savannah Jean Kinchin Paschal, and I'm pretty sure I actually said Kinchin wrong. I'm sure it said something different, but that's what it looks like it's spelled. But she was born on August 22nd, 1990 in Pasadena, Texas, to Michael and Shirley Kinchin. She was a kind-hearted and compassionate woman. Growing up, she enjoyed gymnastics, horseback riding, dance, swimming, and ice skating. As a child, she would rescue animals and care for them whether they were wild or not, which I hope there was never a scenario where she accidentally brought home a rabid raccoon or something, because that would just be very, very bad. But she was also an active member of her church. When she graduated high school in 2008, unlike many others who just kind of go their separate ways, Savannah kept in touch with all her friends. And in 2009, she was in a serious relationship. So serious that her boyfriend at the time offered her an engagement ring. But when she told him that she was pregnant, he up and left her. Don't know why you would give her an engagement ring if the thought of pregnancy scared you off, but to each his own, I guess. But Savannah wasn't about to let this get her down. She became a single mom, who at first went to culinary school, then decided to transfer to mortuary school, which she graduated that in May of 2021. It is really important for everyone to know the type of person Savannah is, as her murderer kinda just slandered her online and made her seem like a horrible person. She's not here to defend herself against accusations, so it's really important for us to get to know who she was. In 2012, she met Trent Paschal in a parking lot of a grocery store. Though he was already in his 40s, she and him hit it off as he helped her load her car. Just a side note, she was only 22 at the time. And I'm going to share an opinion. While the age difference is nothing illegal, I've always found it to be strange when somebody enters a relationship with someone much younger than them. I'm not saying that it should be illegal, nor am I saying it's wrong. I just find it strange. It's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with my opinion. Trent, though, had no problem fitting in with her friends and being a father figure to her son. It is because he was described as being a big kid. And I'm going to let you draw your own opinions on what that means. While Savannah and her friends seemed okay with him, her mother, on the other hand, was a different story. Savannah's mother was a private investigator, and she had a habit of running background checks on all of Savannah's potential suitors. While that might be annoying and kind of a reach, look at it from a parent's point of view. If your son or daughter was dating somebody that you did not know or gives you a weird vibe, wouldn't you want to look into them? What she found was a long criminal history. She found multiple arrests and one jail sentence of 6 months. These arrests, according to Trent, were things he did in his wild days, and his conviction was for property theft. Trent was also twice divorced. He first married at 19 to an 18-year-old woman, and they stayed together for 12 years. Soon after that divorce, he married a woman that was 12 years younger than him, and this lasted only 6 years. And it's possible he was still married to her when he met Savannah. 6 months after the two met, Savannah was pregnant again. Also, I'm not going to give the names of these children. They're alive and have been through enough already. While you can find their names online through videos, articles, and Google searches, this is just a preference of mine to not give their names. Soon after Trent found out that he was going to be a father, he was arrested again, this time for theft. And this time he served 8 months in jail. But love makes people do crazy things, and Savannah really loved Trent. Though he went to jail, she still saw the good in him and stood by him. In 2014, the two got married and moved to Lamarck, Texas in 2016. At first, things were looking up for the couple. Trent had a steady job, and Savannah was on her way to having her own career. Photos that you can find online show a happy couple and a happy family. But like I have stated, that is like looking through a keyhole. In truth, Trent was a controlling and jealous husband, and he was prone to paranoia. Once they moved to Lamarck, Texas, Trent went to work installing security cameras around the home. While this isn't a big deal, wanting to make your family safe from anyone lurking around, once you realize that Trent liked to keep tabs on Savannah, things get a little hairy. He wanted to know where she was at all times and who she was with, which at first Savannah didn't really mind that much. But the more it went on, the more she felt like a prisoner in her own home. Things came to a head when she decided to go back to work in 2019. The children were both in school and she didn't want to be a housewife. So she took her skills to work in a funeral home. Her job? She would do the hair and makeup for the recently deceased, which, while morbid, people need to make a living. While she was attractive before, she ended up getting in better shape. And when you add her physique along with her success at work, this all got to Trent. His jealous streak began to rear its ugly head. When someone as controlling as Trent begins to lose control, they become more and more paranoid. Remember, she was much younger than he was, and in ways, way too good for him. And the thing is, he actually knew it. This also played a heavy part in his need to control her, as his grasp of her was slipping further and further away due to her making new friends and going out to have fun. That little negative voice in his head kept telling him that she was cheating on him, when, spoiler alert, she wasn't. But the more and more she spent outside the house, the more that little voice in his head grew, to the point that I'm going to share an example that is really insane. In 2019, he got into an argument with her because she didn't wish him a happy birthday on Facebook early enough. Consider the fact that they lived together, and she could easily just say it when he gets up. But he literally started an argument over that, which honestly is a real big nothing burger. Then 2020 rolled around. You were all there, and you know what happened. The world came to a stop, and all of us were bored sitting in our homes. Because of the pandemic, Trent found himself stuck at home because he was a contractor and he had no work. And instead of doing something productive, he focused on his growing paranoia. You see, as an essential worker, Savannah still had to go to work, and not just her normal hours. Due to the pandemic, there were a lot of deaths due to certain factors other than the virus. She was out of the house more, and Trent became obsessive and constantly checked in on her, and he would track her phone. She once told him that she was going over to her parents' home, and his response was to go over to her parents' home to make sure that's rarely where she was. When she would have to go somewhere for work, like to pick up a wreath or a casket even, he would insist that she pick him up so that he knew where she was going. Now, this is just a guess, but there were probably other times where he just wanted her to straight up stay home. I actually don't know if that last part is a fact, but I just would assume that that would lead happened a couple of times. Yet she kept with the relationship, constantly telling him that she was not cheating on him and that she loved him and only him. But then his possessive nature went way too far. In the summer of 2020, he was arrested for stealing a car. Though this had nothing to do with Savannah, he claimed he did so because she wanted nice things. Since he felt his control was slipping, he decided the best course of action was to blame her for his crimes. Everything was her fault, according to him. Everything he did was because of her. He couldn't take responsibility for his own actions. He had to blame her. When he figured he was going to jail for a long time, he did offer her a divorce, which it's just in my opinion, that was the nicest thing he ever did for her. But if this were a just world, that would have happened. But unfortunately, we live in this world. Due to an error, his charges were dropped, and this SOB got really lucky. Too bad his offer of divorce came to bite him in the ass, because Savannah, probably thinking a little bit on it, was probably tired of being treated like a prisoner to a jealous man, and decided to take him up on the offer of divorce. She confided in friends and family that she felt trapped, and that she was relieved that he was possibly going to prison. But with him being a free man, she had enough. She didn't want to raise her kids with a man like him. And while she told her friends and family that it was because he was a criminal, I have a feeling that it was her way of being polite, because psychotic, controlling, obsessive lunatic with trust issues is longer to say. Either way, she was trying to leave, and Trent went mental. Now, to explain this next part, I want all of you to remember how he was before. How he was a controlling, obsessive, and jealous husband. Well, before, Savannah at least had the luxury of having private conversations in her own home. Now that she was leaving him, that kind of went out the window. He planted listening devices in the home and spied on her. Now, again, I want you to think back to the beginning of this video. to the sight of this man crying in a heartfelt apology to his daughter. Now, I want to ask you, did your opinion of this jackass change? Do you know why it changed? Because you're no longer looking into the keyhole. You have more information about what Savannah was going through that pushed her to want to divorce him. And by the way, while he claimed in the video that she was talking to another man and calling another man baby, well, the baby part didn't happen, but she was talking to another man. But in his mind, she was cheating on him. And these recordings from which he was spying on her, these conversations were the catalyst for everything that is to follow. Things came to a head on October 21st, 2020, Trent Paschal's 48th birthday. That morning, Savannah remembered to wish him a happy birthday on Facebook so that he wouldn't throw a temper tantrum like he did the year before. She was planning a surprise party for him later that day, but for now, she had to go to work. The funeral home was live streaming a funeral, and because she was working there, she had to attend. So how did this man, who I swear wanted a mommy and not a wife, decide to spend his birthday? He constantly texted her and called her wanting her to come home, even demanding it. Well, she ignored him and pretty much finished the service and then called him on her way home, to which Trent told her that he had a gun and a bullet for her, which Savannah, instead of calling the police to report that her soon-to-be ex-husband threatened her, instead called her mom Shirley. And I have to say, that was a dumb move on her part. Calling the police is always the best bet when it comes to situations like this. But Savannah and her mother both arrived at the house where her mother witnessed an altercation between Trent and Savannah. And Shirley ended up calling the police, who arrived, and they just basically treated it like a domestic case, basically telling Trent that he should leave the house for 24 hours. Then they left, and then Trent left. And then Savannah and her mother decided to go to Savannah's kids' school to make sure that Trent couldn't sign them out. Then at noon that day, they returned, just as Trent finished filming the YouTube video. Now we've come to what happened after Trent had stopped recording, because Savannah and her mother were coming up the driveway. He ran into a bathroom and hid behind a shower curtain and waited. He was hoping that Savannah would go to the bathroom. That way he can ambush her. But Savannah didn't go to the bathroom. Instead, she decided to check the security to make sure that Trent had not returned. But her mother, Shirley, she had to go to the bathroom. And as she entered, Trent pulled the curtain back, brandishing a gun. He threatened to kill them both, but Shirley was able to get out of the bathroom and tried to close the door on him, which after a brief struggle, Trent allowed the door to be shut. While Shirley ran out the door and down the street to a home of a state trooper, Trent confronted Savannah in the hallway, where he shot her. Savannah had been shot in the stomach, and she rushed towards the bedroom to try to barricade herself in, but she didn't make it there because she was shot again. And in an attempt to survive, Savannah continued to crawl towards the bedroom, but she was wounded badly. Trent didn't try to stop her. He just grabbed his keys, got in his truck, and left. When the ambulance came, Savannah was still alive, but she was heavily injured and fading fast. Unfortunately, en route to the hospital, Savannah succumbed to her injuries and passed away. And after uploading the video on YouTube, attempting to make his wife look like the bad guy, Trent decided to call a friend in Houston to tell him that he needed a place to crash. He lied to that friend and told that friend the worst thing that he did to his wife was hit her. And I am hoping that you find this man to be a piece of walking excrement. Because honestly, I try to keep my commentary on this stuff semi-professional. But while telling this story, it is getting harder and harder to not feel rage. In fact, I'm just going to say this now. This man was a coward. Just a cowardly little boy. But anyways, police ended up spotting his truck in a Walmart parking lot. And because he wasn't inside the truck, they decided to stake out the truck, waiting for him to return. And he did return. The police, knowing that he was armed and dangerous, decided to surround the truck so he wouldn't get away. And as they were in the middle of doing so, he had gotten into his truck because he didn't realize he had been caught. So it must have been a complete shock to him when he was surrounded by flashing lights and sirens. And I am hoping that he pooed himself a little bit. Police demanded that he get out of the truck, and well, he actually did. But he did so holding the gun. Because again, this man was a coward, and he didn't want to go back to prison. So he was trying to get the police to fire upon him, which the police did, and only injured him. And as they secured him, he told police, "Y'all did a bad job at shooting me." You would think that this would be the end of the story. He either dies in the hospital, or he goes to trial, is found guilty, either gets life in prison or the death penalty. But you would be wrong, because this is just the beginning. For one, he was released on a $550,000 bond, which honestly, in my opinion, if you're a murderer, you should not be allowed to bond out in any state. We need to fix that law in the United States. As part of his release, he was ordered to stay at his parents' house and wear an ankle monitor. And here is where things get, well, to be completely honest, really dumb. The police shot him, so they should know the extent of his injuries. And well, there was swelling in his leg and ankle, and they decided to put the monitor on the leg that was swollen. Well, the swelling went down and he slipped the monitor off. And I'm going to let you know, that doesn't alert police that the monitor has been tampered with. And while at first he just came and went as he pleased, this soon changed because Trent decided to go to a car dealership and take a car for a test drive. And in the middle of the ride, the salesman was asked by him, very nicely, by knife point, to get out of the car, to which the salesman did. And thus Trent became a fugitive, and a not very bright one at that. Because the other thing about Trent Paschal that you should know is this. He is a vain person who doesn't mind being on video or in photos. And he happened to hook up with somebody who had a TikTok. And since I don't like going on TikTok, I didn't look for these TikToks. Sorry. Well, not really sorry. This little trife with this girl on TikTok didn't last long, though. And soon he just disappeared altogether. In fact, he left Texas. He decided to make his way to Missouri, where he met a woman named Catherine, who was pretty much living the nomadic lifestyle, living in a camper, or as I like to call them, voluntarily homeless. And it was one of those types of lifestyles that Trent was kind of forced to live because he was wanted for murder. But Catherine didn't know that part. To her, he wasn't 48-year-old Trent Paschal. He was a man named Trevor who was just recently divorced. And sidebar really quickly, this man had such an ego that he thinks he could pass for 42 when the dude looks 50. And he stayed with her for the rest of the year. But on New Year's Eve of 2021, Trent's luck ran out. He was staying in Florida with Catherine and her 2 kids, all living in this camper. And Trent had a bag that he carried with him. Inside that bag was a gun, his real driver's license, and a bunch of fake IDs. Catherine got curious, and when he was asleep, she actually looked into the bag and found the driver's license. Well, knowing that he's not Trevor now, and that he is Trent Paschal, a wanted murderer, she and her kids snuck out and contacted the police. The police showed up and surrounded the place. On a megaphone, they asked him to come out with his hands up. After a brief pause, they heard a gunshot. He was on the run for 8 months, and he decided to end it all with one gunshot, depriving Savannah's family of justice. I'm going to end this with what Shirley, Savannah's mother, said at a press conference soon after Trent's death.
Our daughter Savannah was murdered by her husband on August 21st, October 21st, 2020, after she let him know that she could no longer live with a person who was a habitual criminal and that she wanted more for their children. Trent Paschal committed suicide on January 1st rather than surrender to law enforcement. He had been on the run for 263 days when a tip, and thank God for that person, led law enforcement to his whereabouts. Did I want him to be held responsible for his actions? Did I want to look him in the eye and for him to face me again with what he had done? Yes. Am I sorry that he no longer walks on this earth? No.